Good morning, Twin Cities, and welcome to Chanhassen. I'm standing in Adam and Shelby's home. What you're gonna see today at New Space's Happy Hour Home Tour is a 1990s traditional two-story home. The thing that I want you to take away from today is the word master plan. And this is a prime example for a project that is very popular for us here at New Spaces that we see over and over again. Taking a home with a phased approach over time to the end game, which is a full transformation. What you're gonna see today is the phase 2 of a potentially 4-phased project. And today what we're gonna do, we're gonna spend some time looking at a project type called a kitchen main level transformation. I will start you off here in the front entry, and this area also has one of the main focal points for this type of home when you step into the home. You start by taking in the home at the front entry, and what you see is a grand main staircase as a main feature. And that's where you see in this particular case, we used a strategy called refinishing. And we took the existing stairway parts and made them look quite differently, but not tearing them out. So you see a colonial style newel post and the railings here that got finished in a darker, much darker and more pleasing color than what we had here before. Some of you have heard this. It's called golden oak. And we're gonna show you what we did at Adam and Shelby's house. For purposes of orientation, when we're looking at these traditional two-story homes, you always are greeted by walking into the front entry, and you can go left to an office or right to an office or left or right to a front living room that usually leads into a dining room. And this home, no different than many others, is laid out exactly that way. You will also see how the dining room disappeared, and we did away with the formal dining room, expanded the kitchen into that area, and you will see how this entire floor lives very differently today. I want to welcome you into what used to be the front living room. This is now Adam's office. This full wall that you see is now the separation with what used to be the dining room and is now the entire kitchen area. So what we did is we separated the front of the house. You will now find 2 offices, Shelby's office and Adam's office. And a lot of times in our, let's say, post-pandemic project types that we see, we are now fundamentally changing and reconfiguring space plans to accommodate the remote working arrangements that a lot of our clients have today. So a home office many times is actually a must-have. We're now in the hallway leading from the front entry into the kitchen great room area. But in this hallway, just want to point to a room that you oftentimes see in these traditional two-story homes right next to the kitchen. This is what we call our powder bathroom, guest bathroom. It has a toilet. It has a sink. And usually the strategy for us when our design team gets involved in is that we want to make it look a little bit more furniture-esque. So we update things like floor, wall, ceilings. We bring in feature wall color. We change out what we call the jewelry. So fixtures, light fixtures, mirror. And by doing those items, we just completely update that room with a fairly significant change in the look, but not major reconfiguration of the space plan. Welcome to Shelby's and Adam's kitchen area. And this is where you're gonna see the most significant space plan changes that we did in this project. This expansive area used to be the kitchen and the dining room. And now, as you see, there is no separation between a dining room and a kitchen. It is all kitchen, with the connection to the project that was phase 1 for us, where we actually put on a sunroom addition, and now you see the strong connection between those 2 areas. These transformations are the most popular for us in today's 2025 remodeling world. We have the confined and contained, usually 1990s L-configured kitchen, fairly tight, that now has been made into a generous gourmet chef's dream kitchen with close to a 12-foot island seating for 4 people. That means all family members have their own spot here. The original kitchen sink that you see by the kitchen sink window is now transformed into a prep sink, and the major sink is placed in the island. You see a clear definition between the business side of the kitchen and the entertaining side of the kitchen, and that means that the chef of the house has free reign, tremendous workspace areas to work on. I want to point out to one of the major features that we added. We have built a corner walk-in pantry with generous L-configured shelving basically from floor to ceiling. Ample storage space. We have 2 kiddos in the family, and a good, robust storage need was satisfied by adding that pantry. Of course, this is one of the main features of our kitchen. This is a countryside semi-custom cabinetry line. What you see here is what we call a decorative wood hood that also has a kitchen hood that is vented to the outside. Very, very sleek appliance package by Bosch. Our appliance partner, Warner Stellian, helped us in creating this chef's kitchen. 2 things to point out at is, even though this is a very generous area, a large kitchen area, I want you to look at what we're seeing with the work triangle. The work triangle meaning the different areas of a refrigerator, sink, and your cooktop. Incredibly compact, which means that the legs for each of these areas is short, makes for a very effective kitchen. And that means that when we have people that are congregating around it, the business side of the kitchen is right here, sink, refrigerator, and the cooktop. This wall space over on this side that has the beautiful connection to our sunroom that was phase 1 sports a bake center. And this here has our double oven and countertop area where baking can be done intentionally separate from the cooking area. This is a feature that we see in well-appointed kitchens where there's a lot of baking activity that needs an intentional designated area, and that's what happens over here. We're now at the area where the original kitchen sink was located. As you see, we still do have a sink here. It is more of a prep sink, bar sink, and this now represents the beverage bar, coffee bar, wine bar area of the kitchen that sits opposite the cooktop wall. You see we have coffee. The true barista would really appreciate this space. We have a wine cooler, beverage fridge by Frigidaire, and a very compact Blanco seal granite sink. And again, seal granite, the low maintenance, the sturdiness, and the performance of these sinks have made them probably our most popular sink selection with our clients over the past 10 years. Most of you probably recognize this area over here. In the 80s and in the 90s, these traditional 2-story homes most often had a desk area. The intent at that time was for this is the area where we pay bills, deal with coupons. So this area is not completely eliminated, but what we did is we made a more versatile use of a taller cabinet, a little bit of a cabinet space drawer upper to help with different things that have to go on in a family that has children, but not a seated desk area like what we used to have in the 80s and 90s. Very functional and very appropriate for dealing with some of the tasks that we need to in running our families and running our families' lives today. I will now walk you over to the hearth room, the great room, the family room that resides in this part of the home. We're now at our fireplace wall, and I will say this is probably one of Shelby's favorite areas of the new remodel. And I have to say, our lead designer, Jamie, and Shelby, their collaboration with this wall. If you could have been a fly on the wall to see that level of energy and 2 minds coming together to create something beautiful. We all remember the 1990s homes when you have a Heat and Glow 6000 series square fireplace, and then we have maybe profiles of a surround and mantle that puts it exactly at that time era. This here was a creation taken into consideration linear shelving and the materials of shiplap and natural stone, irregular shapes of a mantle, and still keeping the fireplace. So I want to talk about the high impact and maybe lower investment where we keep a fireplace and actually build around it. This is a custom-made metal frame to terminate the stone around it for a clean and really good look. Cabinetry to house board games. We have 2 little girls in this family, and of course, right now we don't see the Barbies, but they live in that cabinet. So intentional storage for the phases of our lives that we're in, and creating dynamic, flexible solutions for the different phases of our lives. Now you see a feature color. You brought the contrast of a natural stone without tearing out fireplaces, just building around it. This is one of the more intentionally designed fireplace walls that we have seen in a long time, and that thanks to Jamie and Shelby's good work together. A TV for viewing, large TV. This is what they had here. But this view is completely, as you see, changed from the original picture when you look at it. I'm going to bring up a few strategies. Sometimes what we've seen today here is a complete kitchen main level transformation with space plan changes and finishes. A lot of people in the audience too are maybe asking, what are some of the things that we can do without changing the footprint? What are some meaningful things? So I will take you through a few items and a little bit of a tip list of what to do when you want to see a drastic change in your traditional 1980s to 2000s traditional 2-story home. And it is the jewelry. We start with things like door hardware, the door handles, the hinges of the doors, light fixtures, fixtures in general, plumbing fixtures, faucets, etc. If you remember, phase 1 for us was the sunroom edition, where we introduced black window features. And now you see the color black is brought through in all decisions that Jamie and Shelby worked on together. You see it in the pulls for the cabinetry. You see it in the actual light fixtures throughout, and you see it in the door hardware and the door hinges. By just changing those items, you will drastically have moved the look of the home in a different direction. So keep that in mind. Other things that are really impactful is we talked about the front entry and what is sometimes the most prominent feature there. It's the main staircase and the railing system. Changes to the finish, like we did here with Adam and Shelby, is already a huge statement. So we take our golden oak and we enamel it to the color that we're looking for. In this case, we moved it much darker for a strong contrast of the spindles. It's these strategies that tell the story, and this is where our design team and our design process with the design first approach. We want to design everything, specify everything, select everything, and price everything prior to a construction contract. Thank you for spending time with us here in Chanhassen at Adam and Shelby's home. One thing you've learned about New Spaces is that we are firm believers in creating a master plan for your home. And it doesn't matter if the master plan is a 2 to 4 to 5 year runway or if it's your forever home. Every home deserves a master plan. So here, what you saw today, you saw phase 2 out of a 4-phase project that we already have to start thinking about day 1 when we start having conversations with families about where they want to take their home. I'm standing at backing up to phase 1, which was the sunroom edition. Again, the strategy of thinking about everything, what comes next, is so important. And at New Spaces, that is part of our DNA of how we come at our design development process. If you have thoughts about making your home a forever home, or if you have thoughts on creating a master plan for that property as long as you're staying there, do yourself a favor, call New Spaces. We'll have a complimentary brainstorming session and find out how we can help make that a reality for you. Thank you, and visit newspaces.com.